Americans, we are more divided today than ever before. We separate ourselves with identity politics, rural and urban, conservative and liberal. We are headed for a civil war. There has been talk on talk radio, conservative pundits that have made the argument that we are culture warriors, that we are a nation that is redefining itself, that the values of the United States are open to interpretation, change, and organically evolving over time. And that might be true, but it is also true that we are constantly injecting into our society different cultural standards. We have created a society that no longer understands what it is or who we are. We are now a society that has no shared past identity, has no common theme or opinion amongst ourselves. We're a society that is ready to go to war with itself to try to figure out what does it really mean to be an American. Starting with the election of Barack Obama, we already began to see the cracks forming in our society, a divide taking place between people who envision the United States having a government and a people that really continued the tradition of being Little Europe, a more socialized society of people who entrusted a larger government body, a large overseeing government to make decisions, to provide social welfare programs. And then there were, again, the traditionalists, the long-standing people who believed in the Wild West mentality of give me space and freedom and let liberty sort it all out. Today we have a new president, and the same arguments have been reversed as to where is the future of America headed and what does it really mean to have American values. When someone says, I'm going to put America first, what is that really defining? I think it's becoming increasingly clear we can't even really definitively say what America is. When we see the protests on the West Coast and in Portland and in Chicago, and the marches in Washington, D.C., what does that really say about our ability to self-govern? How can you have a democratic system if the losing side in any given election declares the election to be illegal? How do you have a society of peaceful transfer of power when you can't have the citizens agree? You can't agree on a mechanism for representing the majority. What happens when you say, well, I didn't vote for the current elected government, so they have no right to tax me because I'm not represented? Yes, I had a vote, but my vote didn't result in me getting what I wanted, so I shouldn't have to abide by the rules that the majority has instituted. And the conversation is never, what type of safeguards will we put in for any minority group? What can we do to ensure that the majority doesn't exploit the minority in a democratic process? But to simply declare that if you don't get what you want from that process, the process itself is illegitimate and doesn't actually represent you or have any ability to institute any form of governance that you will abide by. Think about that for a moment. If you don't agree with the government, you don't believe it's your government. How do you have a peaceful and law-based society if you can't have the consent of the public? And you'll never be able to have that. under the argument that if you didn't vote for the elected officials, then they have no right to govern you, even if the majority of the other citizens around you did. I'm going to be covering different topics about where we're at politically in this country, about where our future is headed, process that is about to take place between the new administration, the American public, and the future of Western democracy, if, by all standards, the current generation of people have no interest in living democratically any longer. And where are we going to go from here?